On today's episode, Mike and Ryan are joined by Mike's brother Danny to do some field research on the renowned New Glarus Brewing Company from Wisconsin. Cheers.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Brewthers-In-Law podcast, where beer is thicker than water. Join us on a journey discovering home brewing, craft beer, and more. And today will be craft beer, just so everyone knows. My name is Ryan, and with me are brothers. So, Brewthers.
Yes, Brewthers cubed.
Yes. I have Mike with me, as always, and his brother, Danny. How's it going, fellows?
It is going great. I'm very excited for this episode. I have had these beers sitting on my shelf, and I have dutifully avoided trying some of them.
I'm glad he got them out of my house because they were staring at my face right before.
Well, I just got them into my house, and I've now been wanting to try them for about an hour or so since Mike got here.
Now, Danny, I know you're probably a little starstruck sitting here with Ryan and I, who you see several times a month. Is this your first time recording a podcast?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Well, hey.
Got a new one.
Yes.
And then he's going to want to do all of them. He's going to get his own podcast show and everything.
That was why we have this podcast, is because Ryan guested on another Zelda podcast. That's the name of the podcast. Yeah. And then after was like, that was a lot of fun. I really want to do that.
Yeah, I'll just start knocking on the door when I know you guys are recording.
and then my dog would bark relentlessly the whole time, yes. No, don't do that, please. All right, so as we talked about, we are sampling, we're doing some field research with New Glarus, which is out of Wisconsin. Unless you're in Wisconsin, you're not going to find this beer. So Very excited that Danny was able to bring this from his trip to Madison.
Yeah, that's why we brought Danny along for this episode. He was nice enough to bring a whole heaping helping of New Glarus home for us while he was there. And that was awesome. And so we figured if we were going to pour out and try a bunch, especially, I think some of these you didn't get for yourself, did you?
No, I've only tried I've had the raspberry tart while I was in Wisconsin, but I've only ever tried the spotted cow. The rest I was saving.
Oh, okay, great, yeah.
So this has all been new for all of us. Right. That'd be good, because I never had any of them.
I'm doubly happy that we included you on the recording then.
Yeah. I will say, like, I've heard of Spotted Cow. I didn't really know the brewery. Like, as soon as you said New Glarus, I'm like, oh, I heard that name.
Yeah, you know,
but like, I've never had any of these beers, and I'm super excited to try these for the first time. Yeah. But before we dive into those samples and a little bit of the history and what New Glarus does and everything, we're gonna do our first sip. And with the theme of New Glarus being very, very strict within buying it only in Wisconsin, I'm gonna ask you guys, what is something else that is not commercialized, pretty much, that you can
not widely distributed.
Yes, not widely distributed. You have to go someplace only to get this.
Right.
Mike, what do you got?
Okay, so this one's... I was trying to think of something that was, like, state-locked to a specific, like, one of the United States. Mm-hmm. And I was actually kind of struggling. I would have said Three Floyds.
Yep.
Except that
they
now
expanded.
You can get them here. And I would have said Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale, except that now you can get that in Michigan.
Yep.
I think we can all probably say Yuengling, but that
also
you just can't get that here.
Yes,
it's distributed fairly widely. So I'm going to go with... so when Haley and I were in Iceland, we went to this gin and tonic bar.
Oh, yeah.
And now, I'm not really a gin and tonic person, but we thought it would be interesting. And if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, I think she may have been pregnant with Kaylin at the time.
Okay.
So we thought, like, oh, well, tonic could be kind of a fun, like, you could just get some tonic.
Yeah.
And it, because a lot of, like, fake alcohol, like fake wine and stuff, it's so sweet, but tonic is bitter. And we thought maybe this would be, like, a fun thing to try. Maybe, like, a nice tonic would give that bite.
Yeah.
That she was kind of missing the flavor of. And we absolutely found that. They had a ridiculous, like a multi-page menu of just gins and tonics and mixes of gins and tonics. And we tried this one from England. So it's not locked to Iceland. It's made in England, but it's, I think, you at least can't get it in the States.
Okay.
I think it might be locked to, like, those islands. Maybe it goes to Europe. I don't know. but it was this cherry blossom mead or cherry blossom tonic water.
Okay.
And it was unbelievably good. Like coming from someone who I hate most tonic water. I think it is disgusting. I'll use club soda instead.
Mm-hmm.
Even mixed with stuff, even sweetened, I just hate it. This stuff I could drink straight like a pop. It was really, really good. And it did have that bite from the quinine. But it just balanced it out where it almost felt like it was already a mixed drink. It had that, it kind of substituted for the alcohol bite.
Yeah.
So Haley was very pleased, and I was very pleased, and I have tried to import it to get it for her for like Christmas when, she was going to be pregnant with Abby, or like basically when we knew we were going to be trying to have another kid soon. And it was like the only place I could managed to find it was from like a grocery store in Britain that you could ship from, and it would have been like, it's like, I would swear to God, I would have, it was like $1 British pound per bottle, but then the shipping to the United States, was like 160 pounds or something like that. It's like I would have had to buy like a pallet of this stuff to make it worth it. Yeah. So yeah, that's mine. That's the real long answer.
Danny?
Mine is brand new to me. I was in Louisville last weekend and made it out to a couple distilleries and picked up one called I.W. Harper from Stitzel-Weller.
You know it's going to be good when it is somebody's name.
Exactly.
Yeah, I found that to be true.
Yeah.
Unless it's Jack.
Right.
Jack or Jim.
Yeah.
If it's a full, if it's
an
full
initial
name,
name,
if an initial name, that's
yeah.
when you know you did good.
Yeah.
Or if it's 3 names.
3 names, yeah. Or you're a serial killer if it's 3 names. So you got to find the balance.
Yeah, one of 2 ways to go. You either make a great bourbon or you're not a very good.
You're not a good person at all.
But it's a very nice bourbon. It's finished off in a Cabernet cask.
So I know you showed me. And I took a whiff of it. Oh, you just get that little bit of the wine smell. It's amazing.
It's still a little like a little bit of a dry wine, but it's still very fruity smelling.
Yeah.
I thought. So, and if I can piggyback another, there's a beer called Brahma that I drank while I was in Brazil.
Okay.
Great beer.
Okay.
Great beer.
Okay.
Is that like just a kind of a crisp like lager style beer?
Yeah, it's like it'd be somewhat like a Miller High Life. I'll compare it to.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So not like a light beer, but like just like a lager.
It was special to me based on volume.
Yeah, right. It was just we're actually going to be doing an episode on that this season, or I guess peek behind the curtain. We don't really know where in this season this episode is placed, so maybe we've done it already. But one on just like locally special American beers like Boston Lager and Lone Star and stuff, and like I feel like there's always something special about going to another, like you go to another country and you can try their craft beer. But it's also fun to go to another country and be like, what is the beer that is on all of the bar windows? What is the one that everybody drinks? And like sometimes that's really fun to just get into that beer too.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well,
mine.
that was a good one. Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, funny, we say Lone Star. I've actually had Lone Star, and it is only in Texas and maybe Oklahoma. I had it because my stepdad, when he grew up in Texas, that was his Labatt Light for us. Like that's like the beer you drink when you're a broke college kid. It's good. It's not the greatest thing in the world. I would probably still take PBR or something like that over it, but it's a unique flavor to it. So I would say that the other one I would say is we went to New Holland Brewery a few weekends ago, and they distill, and they have certain things that are only in their bar, so either distillery or beer as well. So like they have a ton of the Dragon's Milk there. They don't have it anywhere else, but you can get it there.
So like variations on Dragon's Milk. Okay.
But the one thing I did have when I was there, they do a lot of seltzers now. So I have found some of the seltzers, like they do the bourbon barrel seltzer with the orange I think we told you about.
You told me about that.
But the other ones they just take their vodka, water it down, and add flavor to it. They do an amazing job with these flavors. Like you got like a cherry limeade, you have almost like a peach flavor as well. phenomenal flavors, a lot of different flavors that they have, and they just use their vodka that they distill, and then water it down and make the flavors carbonated. It's really, really good.
Yeah, Danny just introduced me to, I think, High Noons, and I think I discovered that, even though I don't know that I would still ever pick seltzer over beer, but the watered down, like the vodka based seltzers versus the fermented ones are definitely more my thing.
Agreed, 100%.
Cool, yeah. You know, if they don't distribute that stuff, I feel like that's deeply stupid of them.
Agreed. I think they're trying to get there.
Hotcakes.
I bet you they're trying to get there. This in our area, at least it's not
maybe
there.
Maybe the volume's not there to distribute. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna hand this off to you, Mike, and give us a little bit of a story and history of New Glarus. A lot of people might know of them, but maybe not know too much about them.
And okay, so before I start, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, but you got to drink a good amount of this stuff, but you never actually got to the brewery, right?
No.
Because you were in Madison. The brewery is actually in New Glarus, Wisconsin, which is where the name comes from. That is a place, apparently. I learned that doing research. So this brewery opened in 1993. It's independently owned and operated by a husband and wife, Dan and Deborah Carey. And famously, it is not exported outside of Wisconsin. If you go on their website, they almost use as their tagline, only in Wisconsin.
I saw it on the six-pack, actually.
Yeah, they've really internalized that as sort of part of their identity.
Yeah.
However, early on, it was also exported at least to Illinois. But since 2003, that has not been the case.
Okay.
So I don't know how long it went to Illinois. It sounds like it's something they kind of tried, and then they went away from, and now it's sort of just become a thing. That you can only get New Glarus in Wisconsin. So despite this, and I think this says something about the volume of craft beer that Midwesterners drink, it is the 15th largest craft brewery and 25th largest overall brewery in the United States by sales volume.
Those Wisconsiners, yes, they must. I mean, I've actually heard people in Wisconsin, Minnesota, even Iowa, they drink.
I remember somebody telling me that some magazine did the biggest partying colleges sort of article where they looked at beer drank per capita for all these college campuses, and I think number one was Florida State or something. It was something you might
I would have said Arizona State.
But then there was an asterisk, and next to it said, "Sorry, Michigan Tech, we don't rate professionals." Because apparently up in Michigan, because Michigan Tech is so small, and I've heard this from people who I worked with.
Well, you got nothing else to do.
Yeah, that they'd have a small party and tap 3 kegs in a night. You know, it was just they go through an obscene amount of beer per person up there. And so it absolutely makes sense to me that in Wisconsin it would be a very similar situation.
So you went to Saginaw Valley.
Yes.
And it was a similar thing where, what else are you going to do at this point?
Right, it's cornfields.
Yeah, pretty much.
At least it doesn't sno year-round in Saginaw.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's nestled outside the city in some cornfields, so you get to do a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
So the brewmaster, the husband Dan, he's a diplomaed master brewer, so he has quite a bit of education, some degrees specializing in brewing. He's also taken exams and whatnot. So he's the dude's apparently the real deal from an educational standpoint. He's also worked in brewing since he was 20. I don't know how old he is now. That included a stint at Anheuser-Busch, I believe.
Okay.
And
good place to work.
Yeah, so he has. You can look it up on their website. His whole CV, I guess. But he's a very accomplished brewer, who is kind of both experienced and educated. But the founder and president of the brewery is actually his wife Deborah. So she is apparently kind of always been something of an entrepreneur. So she's started other companies before this, but she raised the capital to start up the brewery as a gift to her husband.
That's a
heck
good
of a
wife
gift.
right there. That's a keeper.
So when they founded the brewery, she's the founder and the current company president.
That's how you know we have someone new on the podcast.
And when they founded the brewery, she became the first woman to own and operate a brewery in the United States. Yeah.
Good.
So that's pretty cool.
Good for her.
Yeah. So. I think that's sort of neat for such a big operation that it is ultimately it's like a family establishment. You know, it's run by a couple.
Yeah.
I just think that's cool.
That's awesome. We saw the same thing when we went to GrabCap, where the husband, wife, and son.
Arguably smaller scale.
Much smaller scale, yes.
So, one of my favorite things doing research about them, or one of the things that struck me, is that their website, it almost looks like the whole color scheming and stuff looks like a page, like it could be like if the internet existed in 1980, it might be what the Boy Scouts website would have looked like. It's like, it's rustic, it's like really clean, but it has these funny, this like kind of funny color scheme, and it's like, I'm not saying it's not professional, but it seems to be pointedly simple and rustic. You know, it's like they're really trying to lean into the kind of simple Midwest kind of thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and it just, like they're kind of avoiding any impression that they're trying to look chic and modern, which I just think is cool. That spoke to me a little bit. Danny, do you have anything that you want to add to that, just generally, and anything you picked up about the brewery while you were there?
I mean, I mainly just had it sitting at a couple bars while I was getting dinner and whatnot.
I know that I think Spotted Cow is like one of, if not the biggest beer in Wisconsin by like volume drank. Was it pretty ubiquitous?
Yeah, I
like
certainly contributed. I think I tried to do my part the few days that I was there.
Right. No, I guess like was it just something you could accept was going to be at every bar, kind of the way Oberon is here?
Yeah, for the most part.
Two-Hearted. Okay. I would say like Two-Hearted.
At least in my experience.
I know you weren't there super long.
Yeah, and then it did seem like just Wisconsin in general seemed like they had a lot more sort of local brews and local microbreweries represented than you might find in in a lot of other places, and kind of, even a couple were just dive bars where you wouldn't really expect to see a lot of craft brews. Okay, yeah,
so they seem to just have a focus there on like kind of homegrown stuff.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a lot of pride in the brewing.
Right. Cool. So the first beer that we are going to drink, then, getting started, and I guess just to give everybody an idea of the episode, so Danny brought 5 distinct beers for us to try. We are going to start with 2, we'll take a break, and we'll do the other 3, and then we'll have a little roundup about New Glarus and sort of what makes them special. So the first beer we are going to be trying, their most famous beer, is called Spotted Cow. And Danny, I take it this was mainly the New Glarus beer that you made the most use out of while you were there?
Yes. Yep. Definitely that one. I've had the raspberry tart before when I went for a Packers game.
Okay, cool.
That was actually the first New Glarus beer I had. Was my fiance really wanted the raspberry tart. She likes a nice fruity beer, and it's a great beer.
I love me a good raspberry tart.
You're in for a treat.
We have that one. I'm very excited to try it, but I think by far their most famous beer is Spotted Cow. So this one, I was doing, I was, as the folks say, doing my research, which means I was on Wikipedia. And I believe that Spotted Cow may be the #1 drank beer in Wisconsin. Probably, now that I say that and I think about large breweries that may also be located in Milwaukee, it's probably the largest craft beer drank in Wisconsin. So Spotted Cow is a naturally cloudy farmhouse ale, 4.8% ABV. So that's according to
a farmhouse
according
ale.
to New Glarus. Yeah, naturally cloudy farmhouse ale is how they say it. Now, interestingly, the BJCP lists it as an essential example of a cream ale.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I know it as.
So I think it. Danny, I think you had a comment about this, right?
Yeah, I think it may be on the side of the can, but I read somewhere that they called it a farmhouse ale to appeal to the farmers in the community. Basically, something that would be really refreshing and just really tasty after a long day.
Mike is pouring this now, and that is not a farmhouse ale if I have ever seen one.
Right, yeah, it does not give off the taste of a farmhouse ale you'd go and pick up.
And I would say, though, like, farmhouse ale can can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
To different people, like technically, I mean, you can use Kvike. That's a farmhouse yeast technically, but that's going to throw off a lot different flavors from like a saison. But yeah, so here, Ryan, I know you're the only one of us that hasn't got to drink Spotted Cow. Why don't you give us initial impressions on the look?
Like I said, this is as clear as a beer as you can get. I can clearly see.
Interesting because it said naturally cloudy, but this one's been in the fridge for a while, so it may have dropped out a little bit.
Smells like a cream ale. It's very refreshing. I can just tell by the smell.
Yeah. I definitely get a little bit of like yeast, a little bit of something in the smell. So Ryan,
I might have to move to Wisconsin for this. I already love cheese.
I'm going to top you off with what's left.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. that is super good. I mean, super refreshing. Nice, easy drink. What percentage is this? Just for reference.
I want to say 4.8.
4.8.
So it's under 5%. That's a great
actually
summertime beer to drink.
With compared to like say Three Floyds or Stone, most of these are very pleasantly low ABV. Only one of the 5 is above 5%.
Oh dang!
That
Okay.
we're gonna try today.
Okay.
So, yeah, Danny, what are your tasting thoughts here? I know that you've had a bunch, but why don't you take a sip and tell us what you get?
If I were to describe it with a metaphor, it is the perfect. I think Ryan uses this one as well. The lawn mowing beer.
I know people use that term as a mean thing for like Bud Light and everything, but a lawnmower beer is just a light beer. This is definitely a lawnmower beer. Or after being out in the fields working and everything. This is the beer you want to drink. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, this is so good for that.
So I think it's funny, and I guess we haven't really described it's a golden, not like. Maybe not quite lager pale, maybe slightly more deeply golden than that.
Yeah.
Not crystal clear, but fairly clear. The version.
Oh, let's say I can see pretty well through this.
I think it's funny. Like when I drink this, I'm always the first couple I had. I was surprised by how fruity it is, because this beer adheres to the Reinheitsgebot, so it has no fruit in it. It is 4 ingredients, barley, water, hops, and yeast. So apparently they used to use corn, which I think is maybe to like as a nod to the farmers, apparently. Mm-hmm. But they don't anymore because they wanted it to adhere to the Reinheitsgebot. That's sort of what I gathered from sources online.
So I am amateur, as we talk about. So what is that?
That's the it's the thing Rich talks about all the time. It's the German purity law.
Oh, okay. But isn't corn part of the purity? That's grain, isn't it?
It's barley only.
Okay.
Yeah, that's as I understand it. Yeah, corn would be considered an adjunct.
I guess that makes sense.
But it I agree. It's sort of like a cream ale, but I think there's a lot of fruity. I interpret it as being probably yeast character in this, and I know bit. They have.
It's got that yeast bite. I say bite even though it's not, but like a light beer when you drink it cold, especially, has that bite with it and everything else. And I think this has that.
Yeah.
And to me, it's refreshing. I love that little bite.
I'm not saying
ready
it's
for
not
it.
refreshing. Danny, do you get a fruity thing from?
I do. I think my initial response to it, I don't think gave it enough credit for being complex in its flavor. It made it sound a little too simple, but I feel like you kind of do get a little more of it's almost like a split for me, where I get sort of the fruitiness on the front, creamy, and then on the end, on the back, it tastes like that light beer sort of aftertaste that leaves you in your mouth.
The thing that really struck me the first can of this that I had, which was the first of 3 that night, it has this, Spotted Cow has this thing, like Danny only got me a 12-pack, and I haven't had it very many nights because it's like one of those like Pringles, bet you can't have just one. It's like by the time you finish one, it is hard to make any other beer sound good. It's like I just wanted another immediately. And it kind of reminds me in a way of Oberon, where like it seems, I think maybe this is part of why it's like, is it a cream ale, isn't it? It's like, it's kind of singular, because I think Oberon's like that. Like, I assume that all wheat beers taste like tasted like Oberon until I had other wheat beers, and none of them do.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it just, because of the unique yeast character, Oberon very, very much is just like, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It has a style, but it doesn't and it is an exemplary example of that style, but it doesn't necessarily, you wouldn't confuse it with other beers in that style. That's kind of what I get from Spotted Cow. I think there's just,
I can agree 100%.
there's a really unique yeast thing. It doesn't taste like Oberon, but it has that kind of, that like yeast driven, like there's nothing like this kind of thing.
It's a very clean, crisp yeast to go with it.
Yeah, but also characterful.
But exactly, it does have some character. Because you were saying I don't know if we did it during we were recording. We were talking prior to recording, but the Kvik from
from Norway.
Like they do that. I haven't used that, but I've heard people talking about saying that it's a very good yeast. It does clean your beer, but it has a nice unique flavor to it as well. So
yeah, I've never worked with Kvik either, and I think that I've heard that as well, that like it can throw some, especially if you ferment it warm, because you can throw that stuff up to like 100 degrees, I think.
Okay.
It'll ferment.
I think I almost used
cleanly.
it for which beer was it? I think it was going to be
England
for
IPA, maybe?
No, it was going to be for either the rice lager or the dude, because I switched the dude over. No, I didn't switch dude over. I switched something else over to have that brand, because I like, it's a great brand to use for yeast. But like I almost used it. I went with Cable Car instead.
I mean, you can't go wrong with.
I do love Cable Car.
But yeah, I've heard that about Kvik, and I wonder, you know, again with the farmhouse thing, like I think maybe that's part of too why they call it farmhouse, is because it is, it just characterful yeast. Like farmhouse generally means yeast character, but it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think maybe in this case it just means like kind of characterful in a fruity way, not in like Saison can be like kind of spicy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what I usually put with a farmhouse.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's that kind of tingly spicy thing.
Like a wild yeast almost to it.
So
you heard with the crack of the beer, we have a new one.
Yeah, so that's the famous Spotted Cow, and we could probably, if we had more to drink, if we commandeered the personal one I brought for Ryan, we could keep talking about it all episode, I'm sure. But we're moving on now to Moon Man Pale Ale. So this is described by they have kind of cheeky descriptions of some of their beers. So
love that.
This is a no-coast pale ale.
the Midwest Pale Ale.
The Midwest Pale Ale, yeah.
There you go.
5.0 ABV. I'll read the... I guess I didn't read the description for Spotted Cow, but it's just expect this ale to be fun, fruity, and satisfying.
Yeah.
So this one, a little bit more, a session beer with a bright, bold blend of 5 hops that flirt obligingly with the smooth, malty backside. Wow, this is getting saucy. Don't let this one lay around.
We're going PG a little bit.
To be enjoyed today, bold and engaging without pretense, because in Wisconsin, you do not have to be extreme to be real. And I like that.
I like that.
Can we get a cheers?
Cheers to that.
You do not have to be extreme to be real.
Exactly.
Moon Man Pale Ale.
I do love the smell of it.
So
and the color
you guys take a
is
sip,
really nice too.
The color's beautiful. Even in our little tasting glasses, this one is sparklingly bright, very clear. A little bit darker, more of a deep golden sort of a color, which I guess is in line with a pale ale.
Okay, so I took a whiff of it before I took a drink. And I can smell that slight hoppiness that you kind of get with an IPA.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a pale ale, so it's mellowed down a lot.
Yeah.
I took the sip. Where did the hops go? I taste a little bit of them, but like not nearly to what I smelled at all.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to drink as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I would agree that I think, but I wouldn't say, I think the amount of hops in the flavor and the IBU is appropriate for a pale ale.
Mm-hmm. What's the IBUs? If you know,
I don't know. They don't actually list IBU on anything.
Do we know what hops maybe?
No, they're kind of coy with
New Glares. Give us some information.
They are, as far as I could tell, they're sort of coy with the details of this. I would guess it's classic like American hops, like classic C hops. And then, like Cascade, Centennial, Citra, Amarillo, those sorts of like kind of more classic American hops. I'd be surprised if this has a lot of New World or like the danky pineapple stuff in it. But yeah, I'm a sucker for a good pale ale.
Who isn't?
This is really good. I can feel the hops flirting as it goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that they're flirting obligingly with your palate?
It seems pretty obligingly.
Right.
I've been trying not to focus on the backside. My wedding is too close to focus on anything else's backside.
Yeah, I just Googled this beer and I can't, even on Beer Advocate or anything like that, it's like it just literally says not listed for IBUs.
Yep. Yeah, I
there's
don't
no
think,
information.
I don't think they report. But,
No.
But, I mean, to me, this is a really good pale ale.
Oh, this is amazing pale ale.
I think the thing I like about pale ale is whereas IPA for me, there are maybe two I can think of off the top of my head that I consider like summer beers, and that would be like probably Deschutes Fresh Squeezed and
yes.
Founders All Day.
Yes.
Those are two that I would love to drink in the sun in 80 degrees. Pale ales are often very refreshing. Like Sierra Nevada is the classic example, but like you know that I love my local brew Kickstand's Pontoon Pale too. It's like just enough citrus, just enough malt. It's low ABV, it's low IBU. It's not in your face. It's like refreshing. So it's like the kind of miniature version of that hoppy experience, and this definitely delivered that for me. Anybody else have any final comments on this?
Great beer.
I really feel like it is. It's just
2 for 2 for me.
Yeah, it's sort of just kind of, it's a down the middle good pale ale. There's nothing really striking about it. It's just good.
Yeah.
Smooth and easy and kind of what you expect from a pale ale.
I might ask them to change it from no coast to like a small coast, because I can imagine having quite a few of those sitting on a boat somewhere.
Ooh, yes.
In the middle of a lake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Lake
Wisconsin.
coast.
How many lakes do they really have in Wisconsin? I know Minnesota.
Do they have lakes in Wisconsin, or do they
I
import?
assume they have some, but like,
Do we know that?
I assume like I didn't know Minnesota had it, but they're like they're called the state of whatever, the mini lakes, whatever is their motto.
Excuse me, Wisconsin, Michigan would like a word.
Well,
I know
what is it?
Madison at least has 2 lakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can confirm there are at least
Okay,
2
there's
lakes.
at least 2 lakes.
In the
Two
state of
That's all they
Wisconsin.
need. Well, it's funny because like in Ohio they had the Great Lakes Brewery, but if you hear Great Lakes Brewery, you would assume Michigan. Like Great Lakes State,
I do find
Great
that
Lakes
funny,
Brewery,
though
but
I
it's in
guess,
Ohio.
To be fair, yeah, they should be like the Lake Michigan Brewing Company or something. Like you can't lay claim to all of them.
Yeah.
You definitely don't have like Erie.
No,
okay,
definitely
or
don't have
Ontario,
Erie. Yeah,
but neither do we.
yeah. Canada has that. That's why we call it Ontario.
No, I just don't think you can trust anything from Ohio.
You're right, Ryan.
You have one interest in from Ohio, so I don't want to hear nothing.
You are
out of that.
marrying, and I quote something from Ohio.
She's from Toledo. It's supposed to be Michigan.
It's an oversimplification, but he's not wrong.
We fought a war over it.
And that's how we got the UP.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, should we take a little break?
Yes, let's take a little break, and we'll come back, and we got, I think, 3 more?
We'll do 3 to use the word of the day. 3 on the backside.
3 on the
Until
backside.
Then, cheers.
Cheers.
Backsides.
It's the first day of school, and I'm walking around downtown Chicago with hundreds of other students. Everyone's getting back from summer break, and you can tell that they're happy to see each other after a couple months. For me, however, it's been a little longer. Hi, I'm David, and I want to introduce you to Returning Student, a documentary podcast that I've been making about my return to a college that I left 20 years ago. I'm back in the same city, at the same school, the same student ID number. Everything else feels completely different. My fellow classmates are literally half my age. My professors work in my industry. Sometimes I wonder why I've come back at all. But then I get the opportunity to sit down with one of my professors and have a conversation with them, which usually yields a little bit of wisdom. You can find the show on all major podcast providers, as well as our website, returningstudentpodcast.com. A lot has changed over the past 2 decades.
Okay. So we're getting into some interesting territory here. So this is the raspberry tart. This, Danny, you said this was your first New Glarus experience?
Yes, it was. We found it in a liquor store by our hotel. And my fiance loves a nice fruited beer.
She saw raspberry. She was interested.
she's
She saw
pretty
tart, and she was like, "Give me that right now."
Yes.
Okay, so this is a Wisconsin. Again, this their words, not mine. A Wisconsin Framboise ale. So Framboise is usually the term that is used to refer to like a lambic style ale that's been raspberrified.
Well, that's definitely what it looks like.
So yeah, it's definitely pouring a nice raspberry red.
Yes.
Red foam too.
A little bit, slight pink.
Yeah. So here, I'll read
That
the
smells really good.
I'll read the description while you.
That's
that
a good whiff of yours. He's just like, hold on.
Sorry.
Okay, here you go.
While you guys get your initial impressions, I'm going to read the description. It's quite verbose. All of these next three are. Treat yourself to a rare delight. The voluminous raspberry bouquet will greet you long before your lips touch your glass. They're very sensual with their
Very
descriptions.
sensual. We're getting close to PG-13
Serve
here.
this Wisconsin framboise very cold in a champagne flute. Then hold your glass to a light and enjoy the jewel-like sparkle. Oh my.
Oh, wow,
They're
yeah.
not wrong.
They are
Of
not.
this very special ale. Oregon proudly shares their harvest of mouth-watering berries, which we ferment spontaneously in large oak vats. So that seems to sound like this is a not like a quick sour. This is the sort of the old
They
classic
throw it in
hardway
with
sour.
with fermenting, yeah.
Yeah, then we employ Wisconsin farmed wheat and year-old Hallertau hops to round out this extravaganza of flavor. Or wait, no, they spontaneously ferment the berries, and then they combine it with a more traditional beer. I don't know. Hard to say, but I'm going to take a sip now. Can someone who's...
I will say, I will
someone who's
tell
taking a sip talk?
This tastes like juice.
Oh my God.
I'm not lying. I did you pour beer? I don't believe you.
I mean, I poured what was in the bottle. I wish I could save some of this for Haley. This is so good. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is... I love Spotted Cow. Moonman was good.
Ooh.
But man, on a different level, on a different plane, this is so good.
I knew you liked sour beers, Ryan. We just had to find the right
You had to
sour
find the right
beers.
sour. The right flavor to it.
He had to be greeted by the bouquet of raspberries first.
The bouquet, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think raspberries cut that sourness because they're a little sweeter, but they
Yeah,
work with tart.
right. Yeah. It's I think raspberries just taste at home in a sour beer. I've actually often found when they're used in a not sour beer, there's this weird disconnect. Like when people describe cherries being medicinal in beer, I feel like what they're getting is it's like, I have cherry flavor, but this isn't sweet or tart like cherries are.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening? And your brain says, this is also true of cherry medicine.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
see,
I think
like
raspberries
cherry
just
in my
lean
sour
into
too.
sour really
I'm about to say,
well.
I think cherries lean in as well, but like
Yeah,
I
they
think
do.
this is a step above that still.
Yeah, this is amazing. So, Ryan,
Oh, you're a gentleman scholar.
this actually does remind me a lot of Lindemann's Framboise. So, Lindemann is the company that makes the lambics. Remember on like our island beers, I was talking about their cherry lambic.
Oh yeah.
So that they have a framboise as well that's made with raspberries, and the balance is very similar to this beer. I find like where it's almost like pop or like spritzy juice.
Oh, that's what that is.
And it's
It's
interesting-
almost like a red pop, but like
Yeah,
the raspberry comes in just a little bit to kind of like
or like a sparkling
Yeah.
juice, but better. Sparkling
Yes.
juice usually isn't very
no.
good.
First
but,
one, no, never is.
Yeah, man, this is so good.
Is this your first time having this too?
Yeah. So
Okay.
okay. So the
Bryn
first.
only left one.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Bryn worked through them.
Hold on, I don't get one of these in my six pack. Son
No,
of
you
a-
don't. No, sorry.
I'm gonna. All right. I want to save some of this
Hold
for Mal.
out though. Hold out.
I want to save some of this for Mal too. but
There may be other. Why don't you just?
I'm gonna pour this into another glass so she can have it because I have all my glassware.
Well, do you want to just run it up to her real quick? We can hold
Technically,
down
she's
the fort.
working, so
Yeah, but okay.
there we go. That can sit right there for her.
Well, here,
Ready
put
for
it in the fridge at least, so it stays a little bit spritzy.
Look at you.
But yeah, this reminds me a lot of Lindemann's. And now Lindemann's is back sweetened, I know. So like I know a lot of traditional lambics aren't. Lindemann's is back sweetened, so they somehow either filter out the yeast or whatever.
Okay.
And then they either just add the fruit, and that fruit doesn't get, the sugars don't get eaten.
Okay.
Or else they just like kill the yeast and then add a little bit of sugar back
So
to
kind of
get the balance they want.
So kind of a secondary re-rack, but they make sure all the yeast is gone when they
Yeah,
re-rack it.
or they or they pasteurize it, or I don't really know what they do.
They
but,
They pretty much get all the yeast out, kill it.
Just basically it's back sweetened somehow so that there's some sugars in it that would be eaten but aren't, basically. And this, I don't know if that's how they manage this. It looks like the raspberries are fermented separately. But this I get a similar balance from. I think that helps in like why it's so kind of poppy and delicious.
So can somebody explain to me, who knows nothing about anything, what the difference between a fast sour and the longer sour is?
I think you can go through that probably better than I can because you're planning on doing one.
There's a big difference. We were maybe planning on doing 1 or 2 episodes about this.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, or post-shadowing,
depending on
where this ends up in season 3. Yeah, but yeah. So there is. Have you ever had Jolly Pumpkin Bam Beer?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how it's not just tart. There's like funk, is what people will say. There's like these kind of funky yeast flavors. That is normally the result of an extended aging, where you pitch with. Well, like brewers will call them bugs. So you pitch with a mix usually of like Brettanomyces yeast, which is a bit more of like a funky wilder yeast, and then a bunch of like Lactobacillus and Pediococcus and some bacterial strains that produce acids. And so it produces this, it takes a long time, but it produces this really complex thing. Mm-hmm. Now take, if you've ever had like, I don't know, some sort of fruited sour from an American brewery, and you get this really simple, straightforward kind of lemonade-y tartness. That's normally a quick sour. So the way a quick sour works is you just pitch in a bunch of lactobacillus. They create a bunch of lactic acid. Then normally you boil and you murder all of them. Okay. So that they don't end. You don't have like, because when you do the long sours, often like you have to have like special equipment because it's hard to clean all that stuff out, and they'll sour your other beers, you know. But yeah, that's the meant to be the short answer, even though it was kind of a long answer. Are we?
I think we're ready for the next one.
Move on. Danny, did you even get a chance to say anything about this one, or were Ryan and I just like having a fit over it? Did we talk over you?
No, I don't know if I did say anything, but I have nothing to add after what you guys said. It's just a really, really, really good beer.
Yeah.
We'll start with you next time. So this one, the next one we've got here, Wisconsin Belgian Red, a Wisconsin Cherry Ale. So you hold the marriage of wine and beer. Belgian Red is a tapestry of flavor. This ale is brewed with whole Montmorency cherries, Wisconsin farmed wheat, and Belgian roasted barleys, balanced by hops we aged in our brewery for 1 full year, which is again
aging hops.
Yeah, that's another lambic thing.
Oh, okay.
To use aged hops so that like basically you get
I like the color. Some
of the properties of the hops, but most of the flavor and bitterness has kind of faded. Then we age it. Then we age it in oak vats over a pound of Door County cherries in every bottle.
Hold on.
A pound in every bottle.
A pound? No.
Make this uniquely Wisconsin. So unique, in fact, that we applied for a patent. Cannot confirm or deny that. Ruby Red, which I find to be quite true, with some orange notes, in a medium body that is highly carbonated and intense with cherry flavor and bouquet. Serve your friends Belgian Red in a brandy snifter or champagne flute. We don't have all these glasswares.
I do have champagne flutes.
With toast life with ale from the land of Wisconsin. Okay.
Life with ale.
I've already had a sip, but you know what? Ale. Cheers still. Holy crap. I love that raspberry, but this is
good God.
better. Do I have a bottle of this?
Yes, you do have a bottle of this.
Yes, okay.
Brenda didn't know about this one. It doesn't say tart on it. I actually didn't. When I hear Belgian Red, I would have thought...
Flanders.
No, that's not what I would have thought. Because really? Flanders is a tart ale. I would have thought they made an amber-colored ale with Belgian yeast. like Trappist, sort of banana and clove and like that sort of like Belgian Abbey style yeast. And then use cherries, because obviously there's cherry in the back of the picture. I was not expecting a sour till I did the research, and then I went, oh boy, this is going to be good.
Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, it is amazing. Oh my, the raspberry was great. This is actually a step up still.
You think so? Well, that's great since you got to keep this one.
I know, right?
So what is the origin of alembic?
Well,
you again, I'm going to see you.
So...
Or just like a country of origin? Does it have anything to do?
Belgium.
Okay.
So lambic they are spontaneously soured, or like long version soured over years, slow version soured beers from the lambic region of Belgium.
Okay.
That are like kind of open fermented, and they pick up those characteristics. So
it's like champagne.
It's one of those things where it's like nothing outside of there can really be called a lambic. It would be like a Kolsch. You'd say like it's a lambic style ale. Like you might call Bam beer. They call it a farmhouse ale to keep it simple, but you might call it a lambic style ale.
Okay.
But it's just it's a golden colored sour beer that is complex.
Yeah.
So I was asking because I was wondering if the last two beers being kind of in almost a similar vein. I wonder if that was like the heritage of maybe it is of the people that owned the brewery, but I didn't know if that was like a thing that is specific to Wisconsin with the people who had moved into that area.
Oh, I don't know.
It could be.
Did you meet a lot of Belgian people in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I didn't really get around to asking.
That's not one of those questions you usually ran into people when you ask people, hi, my name's Danny. How are you? Are you from Belgium or from Switzerland, Germany? Where are you from? I want to know what kind of beer you make.
Yeah. Now, so this one... Danny, I guess let's not leave you out of this conversation. How would you describe the flavor of this?
Incredible.
Okay, keep going.
It's an oversimplification, but he's not wrong.
Man, Ryan's is gone. Hey, we have more.
Hold on, before I drink too much of this, what's the strength of this one?
4%.
Oh,
that's the beauty.
crap.
Yeah, this and the raspberry ale are both only 4%, which is great.
Yeah, so
that is dangerous.
I mean, to me...
But it's not, because it's
still
4%.
I know, but I'm going to drink so many of them.
But you only have one.
Damn it.
It's not like you're only eating a cherry or like that flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Like you still get a little bit of the beer flavor with it, and then the cherry just punches you in the mouth for a quick second.
And I think that's the difference between this one and raspberry. Raspberry was just raspberry.
Right.
It was still really good.
Right.
This one you get a little bit of both.
I wouldn't have said that the raspberry ale was one note, but that was by far the dominant flavor.
Yes.
This one is less tart, I think. Would you agree?
Yes.
Less tart.
Which is surprising
for cherry. It sounds like they don't use pie cherries.
Yeah, definitely
or
not.
like tart cherries.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe they use sweet cherries, so that makes sense, I guess. Okay. I would bet that a tart cherry would end up being a lot more the balance of the raspberry ale.
So what was the marriage here? Wine and beer?
That's what
they said, but I think it's more just...
New Glarus. I'm calling you out.
Well, you mean it's not? It doesn't taste like wine.
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
A fruity wine, like a very fruity wine.
Maybe they meant like cherry wine.
Yeah,
it could be cherry wine.
Maybe it's because they. I wonder if like the raspberry one. I wonder if they ferment the fruit separately.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the wine thing. Like technically, that would have been raspberry wine. They blended into their beer or something like that. I don't know.
It's maybe the sweetness. It is pretty sweet.
I'm glad Bryn didn't take this one. I do like the raspberry, but I like this one more than the raspberry.
Make sure you take the others out before the episode gets released. She'll
See,
find out.
Well, we got months. We got months before that happens.
Don't you worry. The rest of them. You know what, Danny? Actually, when I discovered this was a sour, I was considering whether I was feeling nice enough, because I knew I was going to love this beer. Which, by the way, I do love this beer. Cherry sours are some of the best sours for me. And it's much, I agree with it being, it's more well balanced. I don't know. Depending on my mood, I would preference either this or the raspberry, because sometimes I'm just in the mood for that raspberry look, that more tart bracing. It's not bracing, I shouldn't say, because like there are some sours made in America recently that are like mouth puckering.
Oh, yes, no.
Like
that's why I usually don't like sour beers.
Neither are like this. This was just like a really nice like. But anyway, I could see it going either way for me. But I was considering. I knew I was gonna love this beer when I realized it was a cherry sour, and I was like, should I savor?
Is this even?
mine?
Would you? Is this actually considered a sour?
They don't say it that way, but I would say that it probably is so the aging in oak vats probably...
You have it. Go for it. I got another whole bottle.
Probably results in some souring.
Yeah.
That would be my guess, is that at least some souring happens from that.
And this might just because, like, it's like how people, when you hear the term IPA, you think automatically it's just super hoppy, super bitter. When I think sour, it's the same. I usually do go with the Warhead Pucker.
Yeah, you're turned off by the term sour.
I would never consider this or even the Raspberry One sour beers.
Right. Well, and maybe that's why they use the terms they do. Raspberry Tart, Wisconsin Belgian Red. Doesn't even mention it being sour.
Yeah.
And honestly... You could, like, for all I know, most of the sour does come from just adding cherries. Like,
that's true.
For our The World Ends With You episode, I made that cherry hibiscus wheat.
Yeah.
That was made with sweet cherries, black cherries, but it was noticeably tart because of just the hibiscus.
Yeah.
And I think that Sierra Nevada's Crazy Little Thing or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they do.
Wild Little Thing or something.
Yeah, Wild Little Thing, yeah.
That is hibiscus and strawberry, and they call that a slightly tart ale, and I bet it's the same thing. I bet they don't sour it. I bet they
just let the flavors do
the
hibiscus
thing. Yeah. Sour it for them, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's such a beautiful color,
It is.
Little left in your glass.
And the little left in
yours.
It
really is pretty. It's
Mine's
a little... like, but both of their beers were a little... Like, they were mostly red, mostly the color of the fruit, but with a little orange, which makes me think that maybe... I'd be curious to know the color of the base beer, because I'm betting it was not quite super pale. You know, it was probably not super pale. It was probably like a deep gold. Because I know when we did the hibiscus cherry wheat, mine ended up the same way, where I made something that was like a deep golden, trying to get sort of a sunset color, and it ended up with even more of a, like... like an orange color than I expected it to, because the red doesn't erase what's already there.
Okay, so yeah, no, I agree. It's these two, like I wonder if they use kind of like a spotted cow almost for, I wouldn't say spotted cow specifically, or like a basic recipe for that, to use that, because the spotted cow had a nice pale yellow to it, but not enough to really mess up the red coloring that would come from the raspberry or even the cherry. So I wonder if that's the case with this, as Mike cleans up my glass of all fruit flavors.
I thought that maybe we would want just oops, sorry, Daniel.
You're good.
just
a little swisher, because the next one we're doing, I'm almost disappointed to report this now, but it is not a sour. And so
I'm not. I mean, they do great sours, but I these are 10 out of 10.
Dude, those sours, yeah, they were world class for me.
Yes.
Those were both incredible. I think really Bell's makes a sour brown ale called the Wild One that I really like a lot.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And I've never had, like, I can't say that I've like got to try a lot of the more famous sour breweries from around the United States. But at least for me, for what I've had, I've never had an American brewery that has nailed it like this. Like, these are some of the few that I've ever had that really stand up to like what comes out of Belgium, for my personal taste.
Yeah, no, and again, like you've shared a few actual true Belgium style beers, and I've liked those Belgium style beers, whether they're kind of like a double, a triple, or even a quad. Right.
Well, but those are
different.
Sours,
I agree.
So that's a very different heritage.
But even going with the sours that they do, the ones that you have brought home, you have shared some really. I think when we did the Nitro episode, we did a sour there, and it was like I made a Mallory face as she drinks a beer every once in a while, and she can't actually handle the flavor. But like these are amazing.
Yeah. I think that a good blend of fruit goes a long way.
The right fruit really does.
The good blend of the right fruit, yeah.
Because I've seen people obviously like lime and lemon are used a lot with the gozas, and then like I've seen grapefruit. I'm trying to think of other things. I've seen cherries. I don't think I've really seen a lot of raspberries, but like
I'm partial to like I some of that other stuff, the brighter stuff can definitely work, but I'm real partial to the red fruits and sours.
The raspberries and cherries, I would say, hands down.
So now the first four to me, have all been like insanely drinkable.
Oh, absolutely.
Where there is not a, I don't think there's many people out there that would make a face.
No, agreed. I think all of these beers
Yeah.
are super, like, they're flavorful, but it's not like power right in the kisser flavor.
I mean, like
The cherry got close, I will say.
I would say, yeah, like the cherry and the raspberry definitely hits you hard with fruit flavor,
But the right fruit.
I think it's
fruit
like
flavors.
an agreeable. It's not a difficult hard on you. You got to learn to love it. And,
Yeah.
You know, it's like something like coffee or like IPAs. You almost wonder after you develop a taste for it, and like it's coming from someone who loves both of those things. You almost got to wonder, have I been Stockholm syndromed into liking this?
Well, our father-in-law did a little bit of that, so.
That wasn't Stockholm syndrome. That was like the whole, so you're going to marry my daughter, huh? Try some of this beer.
You better like this beer. If you don't like this beer, then you're not marrying my daughters.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
To be fair, Rich never said that out loud.
Oh, no, he said it in his head.
Explicitly.
When he showed those knives, I think he did.
Okay, so let's move on to the last one now. So
Okay.
this is Spotted Cow
I
Grand
was looking
Cru.
forward to this one, yes.
So yeah, so we and again, Danny, this whole, so 3 of these. This should be the 3rd one that you have not had, right?
Yes.
This too, I've not had either. This whole back 3 I had dutifully saved, because the Spotted Cow and the Moon Man, I had a 12-pack of cans. These I had 4-pack bottles.
Okay.
I was a good little boy with my 12-pack of with my 4 bottles. I was not a good boy with my 12-pack of cans.
It happens to the best of us, okay?
Like you and I now hold the last 2 Spotted Cows, possibly in the entire state of Michigan.
Possibly.
I told Ryan earlier he almost didn't get his. I was going to give him one, and then I was like down to 2 all of a sudden, and I was like, I guess he's just getting 2 Moon Mans. And then this morning I was like, nah, dude, be a good brother. You can spare one. So this Spotted Cow Grand Cru, an Imperial Farmhouse Ale, 8.7%. So this is the first one that really pushes the envelope.
So hold on. So it says Grand Cru, but you said Imperial.
So
Pretty sure those are 2 different things.
Well, so a Grand Cru, I think, normally just refers to like their kind of definitive. I know Grandpa always said it was like the brewery's best beer, but a lot of times it's a souped-up version of their most well-known beer. It's like supposed to be their expensive, fancy beer, basically. So this one says, bottle fermented and hazy. This Boss Cow rules. Fine Wisconsin malt, step out with hand-chosen Yakima Valley hops, joined up with French and Wisconsin varieties. Fresh coriander and sweet orange peel kick up Dan's special farmhouse ale. Bottle fermented and hazy as an early meadow morning. Expect Spotted Cow Grand Cru to be an assertively quaffable imperial edition of Wisconsin's favorite local brew.
Quaffable. I have no idea what it means, but it's a great word.
It means crushable. Quaffable is just a bougie way to say crushable.
I mean,
Did you know that from Castle Crashers? All you can quaff.
Oh, you can quaff? Probably, now that you say that.
I will say
Now,
this
I'll
is
say
definitely quaffable.
Same color.
Yeah.
Way more something on the nose. It might actually be the coriander.
I think it's
orange
coriander.
peel I'm getting.
Yeah. As soon as I took a sip before you said it, and then you said those, I'm like, I definitely get those.
Okay.
Especially coriander.
Now, this is very quaffable, but I don't think I would be. I wouldn't mistake this for a 4% beer either. It doesn't have alcohol bite, but I feel like it's just got a little bit more maltiness.
What's
to
the
it.
ABV?
Or at least I would say I wouldn't 8.7.
Ooh.
So I would not.
That's terrifying.
I should say
Definitely doesn't taste 8.7.
No, it does
no,
not.
it doesn't, and it has no bite, but like it has enough malt flavor. I would at least say I wouldn't confuse this with Spotted Cow.
No,
Yeah.
no, great, 100%.
Like it is very drinkable, but it's not quite that. Danny, I think your quote about Spotted Cow was like the best. For all we talked about it for 15 minutes, I asked him how it was before he had given me mine, and he went, I could drink 600 of these.
Well, this feels almost sweeter. Almost like I think the fruit flavors that you were talking about before coming through with that orange coriander a little bit come out and make it a little sweeter.
I could see that, yeah.
As mine is gone again already.
Here you go, bud.
Oh, you're a gentleman and scholar again.
I am.
But like I do. I do not mean this as an insult to this brewery or any brewery I describe this as. The Spotted Cow is Bud Light. This is Budweiser, where like you get a little bit more flavor out of it.
Yeah,
it's not as light. I don't mean it as an insult. I'm just saying, like, that's my comparison for the two.
In terms of being very inoffensive.
By way of analogy.
By way of flavor, for sure.
Like this is to Spotted Cow what Budweiser is to Bud Light.
Exactly, yeah.
No, you're right. It's everything's just kind of, the flavor's turned up a little bit. The drinkability is turned down just a tiny bit, but ultimately not a lot.
Yeah.
I get actually quite, I find this to be, like the coriander and orange peel, I feel like make a big difference, or maybe it's just that their yeast is more expressive at, I know like Belgian yeast throws out a lot more flavors at higher ABV, but I'm getting just a lot more in this. Like,
agreed.
And I get a kind of tingly sensation on my tongue at the end of it.
That's the sweetness coming through is because that Belgian yeast has a higher ABV, so it can build up a little more flavors to it.
It's probably their like Spotted Cow yeast. I don't know if it's a Belgian yeast.
Oh yeah. We speculate.
I was going to be very wrong, but it does feel a little bit thicker than Spotted Cow too.
So
being sensual
many.
again.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. No, you're right.
This description wasn't sensual. I had to make it up somehow.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. It wasn't. Yeah. I mean, Haley as an early meadow morning is at least very poetic.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I notice a difference. Like, it's very drinkable, but it's drinkable in the way a triple is drinkable. Like, this to me is the final absolution, or since it's the Grand Cru, I guess it would be the Armageddon at Dragonmead.
It would be. And I do have a bottle of that
14%, but like, it's the final absolution. Like, if they just put this on tap and called it Spotted Cow, or you like whatever, like if this was just in their rotation, people would get one of these and go, "That was good. I'll have another."
Yes.
That was good. I'll have, and then next thing you know, they're calling for an Uber, because they can't drive, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I would say the final absolution is about the percentage of this. So their Grand Cru, I believe, at Dragonmead is what, 12?
It's similarly, between 12 and 14.
Because the final is what, 9%, I would say?
9 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a similar, like 4.2, whatever, like 2 to 4% more. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's wrap this up briefly here. We've now got to try 5 beers. Honestly, a pretty good selection. 2 sours, which I think everybody agreed were maybe the best beers of the bunch.
I would say yes, they're my 1 and 2 for sure.
But also Spotted Cow, if I could have that in my fridge all the time, I would be a happy man. So
honestly, either that or Moon Man. I think Moon Man was very crushable and easy to drink as well for like a light beer.
Maybe I should have given you 2 of those and kept my darn Spotted Cow.
No, I want the Spotted Cow.
But okay, so can we make any grand sweeping? Like, this has been a bit of a hodgepodge, a farmhouse ale, a pale ale, the two fruited beers. What can we say? What makes New Glarus special? Are they just real good at everything, or is there something is there kind of something we can say about their style that speaks to you?
You've been there. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I would think the biggest thing that stands out to me is just the appeal to everybody. It's like it doesn't discount anybody, who's not used to drinking a pale ale. Like, that was very easy to drink.
Everything's approachable.
Everything is very approachable, and
that's a really good point.
I think anybody could walk in, even if you're not a big beer drinker, and enjoy several of their beers.
Yeah,
I think that is a really good. Like, I think there's a lot of truth to that. We've done a field research on Stone, and we talked about their arrogant bastard ale. Literally, the pitch on that one is, the first 2 sentences are, "This is an aggressive beer. You probably won't like it."
This is the polar opposite of that.
That was there. They are like unapologetically, unapologetically in your face, and like that's their thing. And I love them for that, for their IPAs. But like, this is the opposite. Everything, even this 8.7% Grand Cru is still
very easy to drink.
We could probably give this to neighbor Mike, and he would dig it. He might say it tastes like food, though. Yeah. The other thing I would say that I've noticed is, we didn't talk about this with Spotted Cow, but I believe that it may be oak aged.
Oh, really?
At least for a little bit. I read that somewhere. It seems like they've kind of changed up the way they've made it throughout history. So, like, you see a post, you can't be sure if it reflects their current process,
Yeah.
but they seem to sort of be into that whole oak vat thing, and I feel like there's got to be something
color does
there.
not show that, though, I feel.
With why they're... no, but I think it maybe adds to the complexity, at least of their sours, if they're aged in...
Oh, yeah, the sours for sure. I was saying spotted cow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't...
But I really do think to some extent, like, there's almost, unfortunately, not a ton to learn for our own brewing, because it's just like, dang, they're just really good at making all these beers.
Well, I think, because like you know how I brew. I try to find something different of a style that I want to do, because everyone's doing everything. Simpsons did it in this case. But like in these beers, they do very different beers, but they still keep it a very simple recipe. They don't go over the top with it. You're not like these are sour beers, but they're not smoothie sours or
variety,
not marshmallow fluff. They're simple.
It's variety, but simple. And to piggyback onto Danny's, like simple and approachable.
Yes.
Ultimately,
yes.
Yeah.
Like you could look at that.
Throwing
because even the names, like you're just saying, like this is a Wisconsin Belgian red, like a Belgian red. That sounds interesting. I'll try it. But like they're not saying like this is a sour red with papaya, guava, pineapple, hibiscus, and everything else. You got flavor in there, but they're not going over the top with all these flavors, which is nice.
Any one of those, their description, you can basically pick out every flavor that they tell
you. Oh yeah,
you.
Raspberry tart. You know exactly what you're getting with that.
Well, even like
hopefully there's no spotted cow in spotted cow.
No, but the spotted cow says fun, fruity, and satisfying.
Yeah,
and that to me, like, that is the only thing you need to know about that beer. Like, we could try and pick out, well, like, it's got fruity flavor. What sorts of fruit flavors? But like, no. Fun, fruity, and satisfying.
Yes.
That's all you need to know. You will want to drink 600 of them.
Yes.
The other thing that I think is interesting is, and then I maybe we'll end on this thought, but that they have been, because they're the only in Wisconsin brand, even their tarts, which are very clearly Belgian inspired, they seem to try to find a way to incorporate Wisconsin ingredients. And I think that was really interesting, where it's like, even when you are mimicking styles from other countries, there's always a way to make it also feel homegrown. And I think maybe that is part of what makes their beers a little special too. It's like, even, they're using cherries, but they're not the same cherries the Belgian people are using.
No.
They're using Wisconsin cherries from whatever county they send it from, but like Trapp County or whatever, or Door County. I'm not sure where I got Trapp from.
Trapdoor.
There
See?
it is.
I
Yes.
did. I got you.
But yeah, I found that cool. Like, they always made a point they use Wisconsin grain, they use Wisconsin fruit in some cases, and that's neat, because I have a tendency when I'm leaning into a style from another country, I want to use all ingredients from that country, and I'll get that thought. We're like, well, I better get German malt because I'm making a Kolsch.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
You can make a darn good Kolsch with a Michigan malt if you want to. Okay. Any last thoughts, guys? Or are we good?
I was going to ask you. I saw there was one last question. Like, what can we learn from this to our own brewing? Like, I actually do have an idea, in which I'm trying to do this myself, is trying not to go crazy with those flavors. Like, I'm going to do a Chai Latte Stout this year. I'm not going to actually put chai or anything in it. I'm going to use, as much as I can, the beer rules of only the 5 ingredients. That's it.
I'm interested to see how that one goes.
I am too, but like, I'm trying to move on and trying to do more traditional beers, which the cherry and the raspberry obviously have the extra flavors, but the other ones are very simple beers.
Yeah. Simple and good.
Simple and good. It's all you need.
Yep.
What about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, like I said, I think for me, the big take back is just, just because you are making something, just because you're making something to a style doesn't mean you can't also make it feel like home and use local ingredients in clever ways. Mm-hmm. So, Danny, you're not a brewer, so any final thoughts for you?
I did learn what a lambic was, so I learned something.
Well, hey, look at that.
And now I can go back to my friends that don't know what a lambic is and pretend that I'm better than them.
You can be genuinely better than them in that one sense.
Yes.
All right. So if you want to find the podcast, you can find us on Twitter at Brewthers-In-Law. on our website at Brewthers-In-Law.com. Ryan, in addition to that, where else can people find you online?
I am on Twitter. I am at Rambo Kuhn, which behind the curtain I might be getting rid of that and just be switching over to the Wise Old Owl Brew, which is also a Twitter handle I use for brewing.
Wise Old Owls.
Wise Old Owls Brew,
Just
yes.
discussing this.
And then I'm also on TikTok at Wise Old Owls Brew as well. So,
All right.
yeah, Twitter's
Well,
too
hey.
much to handle with
So
two different handles.
Make sure, I guess, Danny, did you
Oh, what's
have
it?
social media information you want to share? Or are you going to be disconnected like me?
No, I will say you can find me on the corner as long as you have a 12-pack or a 24-pack of Spotted Cow.
There you go.
Whatever corner it
you
is,
pull
out
one
there.
up and go Spotted Cow, and
If it's in
Danny's
Michigan,
there.
if it's closer than Wisconsin. All right, so
I'll
yeah,
smell it.
leave us your thoughts on the first sip. Make sure to let us know what you think about the show as well on Apple Podcast, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And with that said, until next time, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What was the new Glarus one? It's like
Hold on, we're still
make
going.
you
A
say
toast to beer or something.
a toast to beers, a toast to ale, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A toast life with ale.
Toast life with
life with
ale.
ale.
There
Yeah.
it is.